Canon 5D Mark IV released back in 2016, and it's now 2020, so they're getting on for 4 years now, and Canon is finally going all out with their mirrorless options, with the R5 potentially just around the corner, COVID-19 depending of course, and they're finally fixing the various problems that professionals had with the Canon R and RP, i.e. adding dual card slots. Let's face it, that's the main issue people had with it. But with that coming out, is the 5D Mark IV still a viable option for you? Let's find out. So let's talk about the good. The body feels absolutely great and it's built like a tank. Never feel that you need to handle this delicately. It fits in the hand very nicely. I've got quite large hands, so it fits for me quite nicely. If you might be a bit slighter handed, you might find it's a bit too big. But I do keep these Peak Design clip thingies on, but I never actually use a strap. I just find it gets in the way and I just use it free-handed. I don't feel like it's going to be completely dead if I drop it at a small distance. The controls, as always, are super easy. If you're coming from any other Canon semi-pro to pro camera, you'll be very familiar, and you can do everything with one hand. All the main settings are up there, and your joystick, control dials are comfortable, but you can't accidentally knock them. The only thing I do need to use another hand to take the hand off the lens is just to turn it on and just change the main shooting mode. That's it. It's a lot better than I would say Nikon is. So let's talk about the autofocus. Now, if you've come from the 7D Mark II, you'll find that it's very similar, and basically what I mean by that is it's identical. However, that doesn't quite mean what you'd think it does. With the 7D Mark II, it being a crop sensor camera, the focus points feel like they cover pretty much the entire viewfinder. But when you move on to the 5D, which is a full frame, you'll find that they really don't cover nearly as much as with the frame as you think. You can also switch between different focus areas quite quickly. You go all the way from the smaller than 1 point all the way to the full auto, and you can disable all the different focus areas that you don't actually need or want to use. So it makes switching between those different areas that little bit quicker, not having to shuffle through all of them. So if you just use the smallest and then full auto, you can literally just set it so you just switch between those two and that's it. It's dead easy. Live view for autofocus, it's also absolutely great. It's got the same kind of touch screen, face tracking and dual pixel AF as 7D Mark II, and if you put exposure simulation on, it's very similar to shooting with a mirrorless camera, other than you can't use the viewfinder for that kind of exposure simulation side of things. Compared to the 5D Mark III, which only had terrible contrast AF, which was super slow and just completely impractical. I'd never use it for live view shooting at all. This is a dream and works great. So let's talk about the files that come out of this. Now, the amount of detail that comes out of it is great. Compare it with a good lens, it's more than enough for 99% of photographers, I'm sure. If you don't get usable results out of the files out of this, then you're probably doing something wrong. The dynamic range is absolutely great. I quite often find I need to be careful not to go too far on highlights and shadows in Lightroom, otherwise it starts to look like one of those pretty bad HDR photos from 10 years ago. And the ISO performance is great. It's at the point now where I never need to worry about it, unless I'm shooting ridiculously dark scenarios. I've just set it to not go beyond 3200 ISO, and I just don't worry about it. So now we got to talk about the bad things, and there are a couple of bad things, which is pretty good, to be fair. Just a couple of bad things that stick out to me anyway, and I've used this for a good couple of years now, and this is all I can think of. The first thing is the weight. It is very heavy. I've only got the 85mm 1.8 lens, which is pretty lightweight lens, and it still is pretty heavy. A lot of the weight is just in the camera body. Put a 70 to 200mm lens on this, and it's a proper workout if you don't have a strap on. That's one of the few times I do use a strap a lot, is if I'm shooting wedding, I have a dual harness and I have 70-200 on one and a prime on the other. That 70-200, you need that strap to take the weight, otherwise your arm's going to be dead after a whole wedding. The only other major complaint is focus calibration. Now this is not really a problem with this camera in particular, but more, you know, DSLRs in general. It's the way they focus, and when you compare that to how mirrorless focuses, it feels quite backward. With the way mirrorless cameras are now, that's my main thing that's drawing me towards getting an R5 once it's released. Not having to ever worry about focus calibration. If you just shoot native Canon lenses, it's probably not going to be a problem for you. Make sure the calibration's alright, and then you're probably done. You're good. But for me, I use 3 Sigma lenses, 2 of which are the art lenses, 35 and the 50mm. I haven't had loads of issues once I've got them calibrated. I did get the art dock. There's a certain method to it, getting it calibrated properly. But a friend of mine, he had a 5D Mark IV as well, and the 35mm as well. It was a brand new copy as well of the Sigma. And he's been having loads of issues with getting the focus nailed and spot on, even with some calibration. I mean, it might be that he didn't quite calibrate it right, but it's one of those things that kind of, it's a barrier between you and just picking the camera up and going and shooting, getting sharp shots straight away. It's one of those things I'd rather not have to worry about, and I don't want to have to send it in somewhere to get calibrated professionally. But then on the other hand, if I just do it myself, there's always that kind of niggling feeling in the back of my mind, like, is it still right, or has the calibration gone off or something? That's half the reason I find myself shooting a lot on live view now, because that's focused on the sensor level, same as a mirrorless camera, so I know I just never need to worry about it. If I'm shooting portraits and I'm just shooting face tracking, and all the way to say f2.8, the face tracking is fine. I'm always going to get bang on the eye. Yes, I do kind of wish that I had eye autofocus like mirrorless cameras, but again, this just does the job most of the time. Unless the models are going way over to the side or something, then sometimes it gets a bit confused about where and that kind of playing to focus exactly. So there are sometimes, if I'm shooting at f1.8, where I might find that I just go on to back to traditional focusing through the viewfinder for those shots. But in terms of just having them stand there and just snappy away, keeping it tracked on the face, 9 times out of 10 is bang on focus. So it's not really been a problem for me. So yeah, that's basically what I have to say on the bad side, really. I would say, highly recommend getting an art dock if you do get one of the Sigma lenses. So ultimately, the Canon 5D Mark IV still does exactly what it's designed to do, and it does it very well. The R5 around the corner, rumoured to be costing around the £3,000 mark. This is also cheaper now. But it was £3,000 when I got it, but now it's gone down to £2,500, and that's new. If you want to get one of these used, you can get one for a lot cheaper now. I'm pretty sure you can get one for all about £1,500 used in good condition now, which compared to, you can look at half the price of an R5. So if it were me, and I couldn't, didn't have limited budget, I would just get a Canon 5D Mark IV and use the extra save money to get some good lenses. One thing I would say about it is, obviously, I shoot weddings and portraits, and for that it's great. I would not recommend it for sports and wildlife. In summary, if you can't wait or afford the Canon R5, just get this. In the day, the extra time you're going to spend waiting around with the R5, you could spend shooting, and this is brilliant. If you can't get good results from this, you're doing something wrong. I mean, Irene Rudnick, apologies if I pronounced that completely wrong, she was all shooting with the 5D Mark III until not that long ago, and look at her work. That kind of says it all, really, doesn't it? If you can't handle the weight and size of it, maybe it's not for you. I mean, I've got big hands, and but even for me with the big 7200 on, it's too much for a long periods of time without a monopod or a strap to take a lot of the weight. But yeah, great camera. I'd still get it if I were you. Why wait around and spend more on a R5? Keep calling it a 5D. But it does, in a way, feels like the successor to this, doesn't it? So I hope you liked this. Hope that was useful to you. If you've got any questions, drop them in the comments down below. Hope this wasn't completely awful for my first video, and I'll see you in the next one. COVID-19 depending. Yeah, it's awful.